Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us tonight on In TOON. I got a fantastic guest, KJ Murphey. So let's play the intro and just get started. Hello, and thank you. Welcome back. We are going to get started. I'm just going to bring KJ Murphey on. He's a fantastic artist. You know, you're going to get to know him. Let's just bring him on. Hey, KJ,
Hi.
how you doing?
How you doing?
I'm doing good. Before we even get started, I just want everyone to know that where they can get in touch with you, and we're going to run your social media and contact information down there. And looks like we already got a comment from Joseph Spiewak. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Hi, hello. He's watching over on YouTube right now.
Great.
So you've had a very long career basically in the indie comic market. You want to tell us, even before, how you got started in that? What were your inspirations to get you into comics?
Yeah, I think it really started with getting comics as a kid and just the accessibility and Saturday morning cartoons, and just that time was really awesome. And I think that's sort of, I met a really cool kid at school, and he was into comics, and we had a comic book club, and I went to my first real comic book store through him, and then I kept going, and I got hooked. You know, it's pretty much how it started.
And what were some of your favorite comics growing up?
I mean, I started early with, I started with Marvel and DC, of course, you know, and I liked all that. And Star Wars was a big, huge thing. So, you know, I liked anything sci-fi or fantasy. But I got into Ninja Turtles pretty early, and before the cartoon. And that was kind of like a huge influence. I loved that book. And, you know, I loved the black and white pages. And that's really what got me going, I think. And some early Eclipse books,
it's funny you mentioned the black and white pages. I'm a big collector of, and I told you, behind me used to be a bunch of books. I took it down to put an air purifier in there, but they were all my DC Showcase books. And I love to read the black and white. I love to be able to see that. Sometimes I feel the color kind of takes away from the art on here, and I can see a lot of great stuff. Were you? So you were a big Marvel DC. When did you discover like indie books besides Ninja Turtles? I mean, Ninja Turtles really is, I guess, what the king of all indie books, from the way it started to how popular it got.
I mean, there was a bunch of rip-off anthropomorphic books. I think there was like Radioactive Hamsters and a couple other ones. I think there was like Mice that were from Miami Vice, and there was all these other funny ones. But I think you know, I liked Marvel and DC as well. But I liked unusual stuff, you know, like anything, you know, I got into EC books, you know, even though they were hard to find. I liked weird stuff, you know, monster stuff, really. That was kind of like, that's really what became my thing. I think I really got into a lot of those, you know, magazines, format, 70s, weird tales and robots and monsters and things like that. That really was what sucked me in.
And when did you start drawing?
Grade school. Yeah, I think I remember the Muppet Show being on, and I drew a Kermit, and it came out pretty good. And then I went to school and drew a Kermit, and everybody loved it. So then I was getting positive attention for something I was doing. So that was sort of it for me. I drew Miss Piggy and all the other Muppets like every day on the chalkboard, and I was getting a lot of positive attention. And then of course I met a kid that was really good at art, and you know, he blew 2 holes in the side of my ship, and I kind of was like, oh man, you know. But you know, but that was actually good. That I you know, I learned that there was other artists, and I started getting into learning about art and taking I took a few classes, private tutor kind of thing.
And who were some of your, and that doesn't have to be comics, but who are some of your like artistic influences?
I mean, Frank Miller is easy to say. I mean, because of the starkness of his, just the amazing amount of light and dark and the storytelling. You know, I liked all his Sin City stuff,
Mm.
And of course the Dark Knight. I really love that stuff.
Yeah.
Just read that over and over again. But outside of, you know, Frank Frazetta is a huge. Just before the COVID thing hit, a really great buddy of mine, John Escobalis, and I went to the Frank Frazetta Museum for the first time.
That's a great place.
I know they've been open for a decade, and I know they closed for a while, but we were going down there to visit a family member, and then the plan was to hit it on the way back, and we did, which was really cool. So yeah, I think his stuff, was definitely influential, and trying to think who else. I mean, I just been so many different things I've been influenced by.
Let me ask you, since you've been to the Frazetta Museum, and I've been there myself, I was away on vacation with my wife and her family, and it was about a 40-minute drive, and they're like, "What are you going to do today?" I'm like, "I'm driving to the Frazetta Museum."
It's
so I had and it was fantastic. I met his daughter-in-law and his grandson, and they were just some of the nicest people to speak with.
They lived there for decades. As soon as you drive onto the property, you kind of get this feeling. It's sort of very kind of surreal. Just the sculptures and the pond itself, the lake or whatever. And you don't even have to go inside. But of course, the gems are inside the building.
And what was your favorite piece in there? Do you had a favorite piece that you saw in there that isn't like as popular? Like I have a Fire and Ice painting on my door over there, like a print of that.
I think it would be so easy to say something like, I love all of the Death Dealer paintings, but honestly, I liked, he did a series of, he did a lot of different things, obviously, like Jungle Queen and all that. He was doing African warrior, I forget the type of warriors they're called, but he was doing that kind of, a few of those paintings, I think I kind of really caught. They're so bold, and all his stuff is really just very bold.
I mean, there's so much you can pick. I'm just going to say this though. When I was in the museum, there was a quick sketch of like Superman he did. Do you remember seeing that? I think it was a pencil or colored pencil or something. I was just amazed at his take on him. I just loved his, because he had this really nice kind of cartoonish style, but everyone knew him for his paintings.
He did comics for years, and like his earlier work when he was a kid, it was like stuff that would blow you away now. Like he was 9 or 10 years old, and you were like looking at the stuff, and you wouldn't know a 9-year-old drew it.
We got, and I'm again bad with names here. Maybe if you want to say it, I don't know if you can see. It's Larunes Lou. Did I say that right?
I don't want to push anything, because if I do, you're just gonna lose me. Probably. I'm so technologically illiterate. It's not even funny much.
It says Murph's in the house, so I'm assuming he knows you. It's Larunis, Laurenis. Lou is the name.
Oh, Lauren, yeah.
Oh,
Lauren, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. I apologize.
She's actually a really fantastic therapist, our art therapist. I met at art therapy schools, which we could go into that later.
That was going to be my next segue into that, because art therapy was a direction I thought about going into, and I'll tell you the reason I didn't go into it. I'm sad now, because I really think I would have done very well with the way I work. But back in the day, though, we're talking the 90s. The paycheck wasn't good, and I'm like, I need something that'll pay my bills much better. And I was working as a freelance graphic designer. I was getting tons of work, so I said, I'm going to skip. I'm going to skip that, that career, and I don't regret it, but I just kind of think with the way my direction of my career went, I would have been a very good art therapist, So tell us, how did you get into art therapy?
I think it just segued from art school. So I was in art school in the 90s. So, good time to be in art school. I mean, any time's a good time to be in art school. But, at that particular time, I got was actually, my aptitude test basically said either go into art school or help people, and so I decided to start with the art school side of things, and so that really basically meant right after I graduated, it was like, you need to go to art school, and I was looking at the Kubert School of Art actually in Dover, and the only reason I didn't go there, sadly, I wish I had, but it was because it wasn't. I couldn't get my BA there, you know, and I don't know if they changed that, but it was technically a trade school, like a 2 or 3 year trade school.
And that was the reason I didn't end up going there too, was because I couldn't get the BA from there.
I think for that reason, I knew I needed, if I was going to invest in going to school, I needed the piece of paper in case things went sideways, and of course they did. You know, so, you get trained to do something, and then you're not doing what you were trained to do, which is the story of all of us, really. And so when I graduated, I was teaching art for a while, and I was going from job to job, murals, commissions, like portraits. I was doing whatever I could to. I was doing character gigs, doing whatever I could to kind of keep it going, and I think by that time I started networking with other people. Like I met a gentleman named Rob King, and he had a really great idea for an animation pitch, and so we pitched it to Sonos Studios in New London, and they are a bunch of old guys that do naval simulations, but they're Hall of Fame. I don't even know if they still are in existence, but they do. They did the special effects in the Hunt for Red October, which was that old 80s Sean Connery movie. Yeah, so that's kind of their claim to fame. But for a brief time, we had their attention, and they were very interested in our project, and they were actually paying their animators to animate the stuff that we drew. So it was becoming a thing, and then it became, well, this is going to cost $30,000 or $40,000 to make a 10-minute, a 10-minute clip. Yeah. The whole point of doing it was to try to sell it at every year there's a trade show to pitch shows or movies or whatever, and the plan was to bring it there, and it just never happened because we had somebody that was invested and claimed they had money to pay for the whole thing, and he backed out. So but I liked collaborating with Rob, and after it was over I said, dude, why don't we get together more often and start working with some other people and get something going. And around the same time, I was going to I was on a museum tour, so every weekend I was going to different museums in Connecticut. And what I was finding was there was all these artist groups that were getting together, like impressionist people, and they were like living, sleeping, and doing art together, And I just thought it was such a cool idea. It's like, I don't know who's doing it with comics, but I want to do it with comics. So I basically said, Rob, would you want to be a part of this? And he said yes. And then there was like 5 or 6 guys meeting at a massage studio for the first year, and that's what became the Comic Artists Guild. And, cool. So my life kind of changed in 2000. So I enrolled. Well, no, I recognized I needed a day job, so I started where I was teaching art at a social rehab center. They needed a person for a case management position, so I agreed. Initially, I said no. I said, I got to do this art thing, man. So a year later, I was like, is that job still available? Because life is getting real, and I got to want to start a family, something, and. And so I got in there, and it was a training ground. I started learning all about mental health and the DSM, and learning about the entire mental health system, and that's kind of what led to me to go to school. So then I found out that there was an art therapy program in New Haven, and I checked it out, and I liked it, and I figured, okay, this makes sense. I'll do this for 3 years. It was a 2-year program, but I think it took me like 3 years. But I had to write a thesis. That kind of was tough. Yeah. But I was there, and the plan was get my master's and then get my license right away, which took another 2 years. So I was already, when I finally got to where I wanted to be on the professional side thing, I was like already in my mid-30s.
Yeah, that's the way it sometimes happens. Hold on one second. I'm getting a little feedback. I don't know if it's your side or mine. It sounds like someone's typing on a keyboard.
Okay. I'm not doing it. I have an air conditioner on here. I can turn it off. I don't know if that.
I mean, I don't want you to be, be warm. I just turned off my fan just to be safe. But can you just do it as a test? It's a little kind of weird.
I'll be right back.
I'm sorry.
No worries. Is that any better?
No, it's still going on.
Oh, weird.
It got louder for a second.
Should I turn it up?
Hold on one second. It says it's the phone overhearing. That's what it is. Lauren says, as a telehealth provider, I can tell you it's the phone overhearing. So maybe can your volume? Oh, overheating. If you have your phone or tablet plugged in, needs to be unplugged, and the phone needs to be cooled down. So I guess unplug.
Okay, so I unplugged it.
Still, actually, still going on. I don't know. Maybe it's. Let me see if I lower me. Let's see.
I mean, I can go outside. I don't know if that would help.
No, hold on.
Sure.
It's not my laptop. I was seeing if it's my fault. Let me see. No. Yeah, no. It's still there. I mean, it just sounds like someone's constantly typing. I don't know. I mean, if it is.
No, I'm hearing it. I'm hearing
what?
it. So I am hearing it.
Yeah.
Weird. Kind of cutting in and out.
Yeah. Lauren, she says the thing we learned in COVID. He disappeared for a second, but
yep, I'm here.
Oh, there he is, and I'm just looking at comments here. Also, turn down the volume.
I did turn down the volume, but I'll turn it down some more. Yeah, I'm about halfway now.
Yeah. Once the phone cools down, it'll work. So just let the phone cool down a bit. We'll get through it. We also have a comment not question. Karen Gubb is here. Just wanted to say hi.
Hi, Karen.
So anyway, you were talking about getting into.
We were talking about art therapy.
Yeah, getting into it.
Yep. So there's a field and internship placement. You have to do all that. So it's pretty involved, actually.
Yeah.
But I learned a lot there, and I got some friends there, and Lauren is one of those people I still connect with, and we share space actually in Cromwell. So yeah.
Cool. So we're going to get into the comics in a moment. We're starting to you mentioned the Comic Book Artists Guild. But how has your art therapy has your art therapy actually led over into your comic work? Whoops. Okay. Well, he'll be back. I'll ask that question again. Please stay with us. I'm sure he'll be coming back in a moment. These things happen. Here he is, and
sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
See, this is what happens. I pushed a button thinking that was going to help stop the noise.
Yeah. No, it's okay. They'll just take a moment, I guess, to cool down.
Okay, cool. What were you saying?
No, my question was, has any of your art therapy spilled over into your comic creations?
Yeah, I think there's been some stories that have been pretty heavy that affected me in some way or the other. And you do what you know, you draw what you know, you write what you know. And I think I identify with being the underdog or being the kid that wasn't picked first or, feeling rejected. And so whenever there's a story that comes along, actually, that hits on those notes, I draw from personal experience. Absolutely. Yeah. So
I'm the same.
I'm actually going to be working. I'm working on a Viking story right now, but when I'm done with that, I'm actually going to be working on a story that, and I could talk about more about the children's books, but a story that very much deals with body shaming and that kind of thing. So,
cool. Well, that's a good. That's good.
Mhm.
So let's talk a little bit about the Comic Book Artist Guild. That was something you founded with some friends, correct? Or
Yeah. So Rob King and I, and for the first few years, he was involved with the Connecticut chapter, and then we started meeting people in New York when we were doing shows at Big Apple and a few other shows. So it sort of spread into New York pretty quickly, and then we went to Massachusetts, and suddenly we were in 3 states, and I was leading all the meetings, and it was just getting crazy. And I was like, I think I need more people to be in charge. So it's when we kind of developed a leadership structure and better communication, and then it just kind of kept getting bigger and bigger. It was pretty cool for a while. I think at some point we probably tipped the scale at 300 members. And
wow.
But I think the problem with networking, it's great to network if you have your own thing, and I didn't have my own thing for quite a while, and it wasn't until I left CAG that I was able to really focus more on me, because I'm the kind of person that likes to see other people succeed and help other people succeed. So that's all I was doing, is getting excited about other people's projects and helping them with their projects, and not really focusing on my own stuff.
Yeah. No, I understand that happens a bit. Especially you're an art therapist. You're there to help people. I'm an educator. I do a lot to work with kids and stuff. That my stuff usually ends up taking a back seat, and you have to at that one point start saying no to things just so you can have your artistic creativity and your output and just your mental state for yourself, just to kind of fill out what get that out in the to the world, whether you do it just for yourself or share it. It needs to come out of you at some point. And
absolutely.
So yeah, I've kind of learned to say no and take a back seat to things that I was heavily involved with at times, just because I need to create. It tends to happen. So the comic book artist was, you said, about a decade of your life.
Yeah, I mean, it was I was in my my late 20s when we started that, and then I was almost in my late 30s when I left. And I made a lot of good friends, and I had a lot of really positive experiences, and I learned a lot networking and working with other artists and writers. And I think the issue was I couldn't really do my own thing, and that's really why I had to step down. And I think it gets tough driving the bus. You need other people to take a turn, and so that I left it in the capable hands of several really awesome people, and it just continued to go on for a while. But I think social media really became a thing, and I think that really made it hard for the group to kind of sustain the way it was. I get a charge out of meeting people in real time. I'd rather sit in your studio and talk to you right now than I did a radio not podcast. I did radio with Mark Torres the year before last, and I drove all the way to Long Island to do his show, and it was cool to be in a room with a bunch of people and talk about stuff. It really was.
Well, when people are allowed places again, I'd be happy to have you come to my studio. It's small, but we can fit a couple of chairs in here.
That's cool. Sounds cool.
We could chat. But so after the Comic Book Artist Guild, I don't want to say ended, when you kind of took the back seat, you stepped down a little bit. Was that when Guildworks was formed, or was that something that came?
Guildworks was a byproduct of CAG, and I think that was another issue. I think people were having a hard, because I was involved with both things, and people were having a hard time discerning between the two. And CAG was a network; it wasn't supposed to be a publisher, really. And Guildworks was supposed to be a publishing company that I owned.
Okay.
And I started that with Mark Maz. Him and I basically the only plan we had was to make a horror book. That was all we both wanted to make, a horror book, and he had a really great name for the book, Psychosis, and we ran with it. We did 3 issues together, and unfortunately, we parted company.
Yeah, Mark's a good friend of mine, and I've seen the Psychosis book. We've done shows together, shared tables at Long Island Comic Book Expo, and when I see him, we always have a good time just chatting. So, but yeah, I didn't realize psychosis was part of your stuff. I've seen
Yeah,
it.
I was in the first issue, and I oversaw things with him. I mean, he made a lot of really great creative decisions, and he put the books together. So we were tapping CAG talent. Some of the CAG talent was in the books, and some of it was people that Mark knew. So it was a combination. And but that really was my first experience of making a book outside of CAG, which was a great experience. And so my buddy Hector Rodriguez, who I met through the group CAG, he wanted to get Hell's Blood going. So I was in a place to help him with his book. I think the idea was, hey, I'll help you with your book, and then you can help me with mine. So I laid out the entire first issue for him, and he finished it. He basically went over top, and he's a really very detailed artist. He adds a lot. He puts a lot into his pages, and Mark put that book together. I think that was the last book we did. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Hell's Blood went on for another 4 issues. Yeah, we did Hell's Blood 5, and then we have a script for 6, which we haven't gotten around to doing yet. So,
yeah. I'm going to show your Guildworks website. Maybe we could talk a little bit about.
Oh yeah, sure.
In there. So let me add that to the screen here. Okay, so this right here is the Guildworks, and let me just actually go to it here. So
originally it was Guildworks. It was Guildworks Productions, but then we changed it to Guildworks Publications later. Like in 2009, when Hector and I were doing it, we just decided to start with a different. It's a minor tweak. It's still GWP, but we didn't want to just make it into hey we do everything anymore. We just wanted to do comics basically. That was it.
Yeah. No, that's great. So I just want to say this Battle at Granny's House is a free downloadable ebook, which I'm going to share just a little bit of the artwork with. And you drew this, correct?
Yep, I did the whole thing.
Okay. What is it? Is this what, colored pencil or?
It's a combination of watercolor and colored pencils. Yeah, okay. I didn't want to do any ink on the cover because I wanted it to be a softer kind of thing. Although it looks pretty dark. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
The inside, yeah, as you can see, the colors on the inside are a lot lighter, more colorful.
This little concept art piece right there.
Yep. We were playing around with the idea of John and I actually. Every con we did, it was the same thing. It would turn Sunday, and we would be like, we were doing just dark horror books, right? We had like Hell's Blood on our table, so not very popular on Kids Day on Sunday. So we would bomb out on Sundays. I go, let's just go home early. Let's just go, And so I kept saying we really needed to do a kids book, and so John was hearing that, and he approached me about this idea about a kid that basically fights robots in his parents' house, and I thought it was a great idea that he would sort of disassociate and kind of go into these kind of places. I mean, there's been a lot of cartoons, animations about people that kind of daydream and become knights or heroes or whatever. But
even Calvin and Hobbes had that,
Very much Calvin and Hobbes, and so that was kind of the idea. And I just asked if we can change the gender, and he was, so flexible. He said sure. So I said if it can be a little girl, and we'll call her Nola, and she battles these dust bunnies, and she battles these Raggedy Ann dolls, and then she battles these robots. You can show the whole thing, man.
I got to say the Raggedy Ann dolls was one of my favorite parts, because as a kid, those things creeped me out. And I still don't see the appeal to them. Listen, there are people who like that stuff, and that's great. But to me, the Raggedy Ann and Andy dolls were just creepy. And I never. Go ahead. Sorry.
I think John related to that because John wrote that. As soon as they said they got creepy and they, that she has to battle them, I was like, oh, what am I gonna do with that? But it got very Tim Burton-y, and I had a lot of fun with that, actually, making them very deformed looking and kind of savage looking. And
which we come into right now. And
yeah.
And I'm like, I'll be honest. I don't want to show everything because I haven't finished the story myself. I downloaded this today, and because I've been on your site a bunch of times, but I never noticed you had the free download, and like all in preparation for the interview here. And I'm like, oh, they got a download. Let me download it. But I have a day job, and with travel, it's a 12-hour day. I drive into New York City.
Yeah, no.
I run an art department.
Yeah, read it. Read it in your free time, man.
Yeah. I'll finish it tonight.
Yeah,
I'll finish it tonight.
Yeah, it's not a very long read, and it was a lot of fun to do that. So after I did that, we immediately jumped to a Feelings Field Guide, which I do have a copy of here. I can hold it up.
Okay, hold on. Let me give you the screen so you can.
Yeah, sure. I'll grab that. So what I was pitching to a few people, John and Hector and a few people in my circle, I said, it'd be cool to make like a monster manual. You remember the old-fashioned Dungeons and Dragons monster manuals, the black and white illustrations?
I'm still a player.
Yeah. So this is a kind of what that became. I don't know if you could see it with the light, but
can you just lift it a little higher?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see the field guide. I didn't see the bottom part. Like you have a beholder there.
So it's an A through Z guide of different monsters with different feelings. Like on the back, there's a kind kraken on the back. You can sort of see. That was Brian Brindley who drew that. I couldn't pull it off without him, but I met him through a few people in the group, so I can sort of just flip through it, I guess, real quick. So the beauty of this thing was it's just a black and white book. It's something that, again, I'm going to give out for free just to other therapists or parents or anybody who needs a kid to open up and talk about, different, what are you feeling? Are you feeling like this angry axe speak over here? And it talks about its different symptoms of its anger, that kind of thing.
Wow.
This is like a bitter beholder right here.
I love this.
That's Burn Negron. I'm hoping to make another issue of this maybe next year. Confused Centaur. You're reading it backwards, probably. I don't know.
No, I'm seeing it properly.
Oh, you are seeing it.
What's
okay.
that? Disgusted. I can't read it. Is it?
Disgusted Diehard. Yeah. Excited Elf. I kind of stole that from Will Ferrell a little bit. And then Forgetful Fairy.
Mm-hmm.
See that?
Oh, yeah. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's more monsters in here, like a guilty goblin and kind of thing. But this one I think is going to be online eventually too, and for download. But so it was a lot of fun to make that book.
And you did that more for your art therapy, or did you do that for?
I think the idea was I wanted to not just make children's books. I wanted to make children's books that help people, help kids or parents in some way. And actually through this whole Corona thing, I was thinking about a book just about that alone. How to survive through this, and for our kid, in case something like this happens again or there's a second wave. But that's on the back burner. I'm not, it's easy to come up with ideas, but then it's really hard to kind of say, okay, I got to do this one first,
No, I understand.
But I am doing another book. I'm doing a book about lipidimus. I'm just going to say it wrong, but it's about a disorder where fat gets deposited, and a kid that is suffering with these difficulties, and how she works through that, and is accepting herself as to who she is. So
I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one, actually.
Yeah, I mean, anytime, I do a lot of more, not that I've published in a while, but I'm getting ready to put a children's book together. I'm drawing right now of about another 20 pages to like ink and color. Done. I'm hoping to have it done by the end of July here. But
I'm in the exact same position. I'm right where you are right now. I'm drawing and inking pages and saying I'll finish it by July. But
and it's my day job that's killing me. It's the weekends when I get to work, really. But I have like comics, but most of my comics are like superhero mythology-ish type of stuff. But I always try to put some kind of message in there that's great for kids. That they can learn something from. I've spent, God, I don't even know how many part of my years. I mean, I was 16 years college professor full time, and I've worked and I've traveled and talked to different schools, libraries, at camps, all these different things that I've done, that the majority of my work, even though I've been a freelance illustrator, animator, whatever you want to call it, I've been doing graphic design, all those things for decades. I think the majority of my career has been working with kids, so that really puts me in a place where I want to write for them. I want to draw for like making sure that kids have positive messages, and I love that you're putting stuff together that helps people deal with issues.
Yeah.
I have a medical condition. I don't know if we've ever talked about it privately, but I've said it on the air, so I don't have an issue saying it. I've actually had 2 kidney transplants, and from
Oh,
my
wow.
last transplant, I have type 2 diabetes and arthritis. So I've been toying around with the idea, and I was born with a kidney disease. I grew up, having
Hmm.
knowledge of this. I had my first transplant at 18 years old. That I've been toying with the idea of doing a book about dealing with this at such a young age for
Mm.
kids and how I
Yeah.
felt. And I've never had a chance to sit down and really write. But, you're talking about a condition I'm sure you didn't have, but you're able to communicate that. I'm trying to now figure out a way of how I can talk with kids about what I've been through and
Hmm.
my experiences and hopefully be able to help them. So I think that's fantastic on what you're doing there. Um,
Thank you.
I do want to get into this though here because it looks like is it next week on the 25th?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're having a live event next Saturday. It's going to be at my office in Clinton. We're not really expecting people to show up at the door. So the idea is at the beginning of this year, before COVID hit, I basically told Hector and John, I said, look, man, I don't think I want to do a lot of shows this year. I want to reel it back and focus on some other things.
Mm-hmm.
Because usually we do 6 or 7 shows a year. And they were like, cool. So we picked 4, 2 that were local, 2 that we can drive to and go home without the hotel, and 2 that were like bigger, that were out of state.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit, and then there was no shows,
Yeah.
and suddenly, it was a game changer when they announced that San Diego was closing. I'm sure New York is just a matter of time before they say New York is closing as well.
I didn't even send in my money, like try to register. I'm
Wow.
like, I'm like you. I go away a lot. Me and my business partner, Mike Lopez, we run kids sections at shows.
Yeah.
And God, I don't know. We could do anywhere on the average like 15, 20 shows a year. Excuse me, plus. So when this all happened and my medical condition, and I actually had COVID. I was at April. I don't really remember much of, but I'm one of those people susceptible to it. So,
Okay.
I got
Gotcha.
it. I lived through it, spent 5 days in the hospital, no respirator, no oxygen, none of that. Just,
Wow.
I think it was more watch my kidney dehydration, all that type of stuff. But yeah, I told them I'm not doing shows for a long time. I mean, don't expect me on a show until like 2021, probably.
Well, it's a germ factory, man.
Yeah.
So many people coming in and out of there. You don't know who has what. You shake hands with people. I bring sanitizer with me wherever I go.
Yeah,
before
me too.
the COVID thing.
Exactly.
After I shook someone's hand, I had sanitizer behind the table, and I just rubbed my hands.
Yeah.
So what else can you do?
Exactly.
I'm not a germ freak, but after this whole thing, obviously, you think about everything twice. But so we were talking about the shows, and then there was no shows, and then I was like, well, geez, I don't want to go this whole year without doing anything. And then I heard all these other people are kind of doing these virtual events, so I said, well, why don't we do like a live? And Hector was down and John was down. And I said, well, how does logistically it work? I said, if we all meet together and are 6 feet apart with or without masks, and we all have our our devices on, and we're all doing lives at the same time, that'll at least get some people to come in and say hi, and we could talk to each other in real time. And they love the idea, and so that's what we're doing. So we're doing a raffle. There's that image on your screen is being raffled off. There's a lot of entries for that. All they had to do is share it, and their name is entered to win that original print by Hector. It's a Judge Dredd Lobo face-off there, and
nice.
We're doing some trivia stuff, and what else are we doing? Giveaways. We're doing commissions as well. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll be talking about all our projects we're doing, and I'm sure some con stories will come up, good and bad con stories will come up, and it should be a lot of fun. But we're going to do that Saturday, 25th of this month, and it goes from like 10 a.m. to like 4. something like that. We're
And
gonna
you can
go into
find
retirement.
that. And I'm sorry to interrupt. You can find that where?
Yeah, Facebook. We should have it live. We'll be tagging people, but it should be on my Facebook page, Hector's Facebook page, and John's Facebook page. But also, if you're not friends with any of us, it should be on the GWP Facebook page.
That's the GWP Books page, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right. Cool. Cool. I'm gonna definitely have to check that out. Usually,
Yeah.
my
Stop by and
Saturday.
say hi.
Definitely. My Saturdays are the days I sit in my studio or in the other room in my, depending on what, and I work on my art and my children's book and stuff. So I like to listen to podcasts, watch movies, listen to artists talk and stuff. So that's actually a great thing for me to do on Saturday while I'm trying to get my own work done. And I think that's fantastic. Are you guys going to just be drawing for fun, or you got like you're going to work on your project?
I'm going to be working on my pages. I'm on like page 4 right now, so I have like 20 something pages left. I fell behind because of 4th of July weekend. We went away, but I'll probably be, in between drawing the pages. If somebody wants me to do a quick drawing of something, a commission or something, I'm more than willing to do that. If anybody has any interest, or Hector as well, I'm sure he'll be drawing for whomever is interested. So yeah, we should be drawing and talking at the same time. That's the hope.
That's great. It's almost like your own drink and draw online.
It is kind of very much like that. I don't think we'll have alcohol, but I think we'll probably take a lunch break somewhere in there, and we'll probably just order pizza, or we'll step out, and then we'll just pick it up, and because some people can't do the morning, and some people can't do the afternoon. So hopefully we'll catch people either in the morning, afternoon.
That sounds great. So let me go back to your website here for a moment. Sure. Down here, you're just talking about how you're not doing shows right now, but if we go to just about us, these are the 3 of you.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay. And you got your little bios there, so for everybody who wants to see. Appearances, obviously. The Forge, this is your own personal work, everybody, or is this... So like I go...
Yep. This is stuff, yes, it's still work in progress. It's our storefront, so you would be able to buy some of the books. There's some Hell's Blood books there for download. I think that's the plan. And John's book is there, Key Holders. You can see that. And then he also has a book called Martin Chase, which I don't think is there. Oh, yeah, it is there. Human Weapon. Yeah, great Gulacy cover there. Paul Gulacy did a cover for us on that one. So John's books are there. Hector's books there. My book's there. Torn at the bottom. I actually have some copies left of that, which is that's basically the Viking story is a prequel to that story. So technically it's the second installment of Torn, but we talk more about that.
And where are these, like if I click on them, where does it go for me to buy them from? Is it directly from you, or is it like on Indie?
Yeah, it's direct from us. Yeah, I'm not on Amazon or Barnes and Nobles or anything like that. I do need a system of distribution. That's where I'm a little weak and falling short. And I've talked to several creators as to the best way to we had stuff on drive-through for a while. I think there's some books still there actually, but it all needs to be available for download and for purchase, other than buying it direct from us, and that's where we're still working that out. Okay. That's some of my art there.
Okay, that's nice stuff.
So I was doing Inktober every year, so in the fall I get really crazy. I was doing like a drawing a day, and when I could, I fit it in, and then of course I was selling some of the art, at shows, and it made me want to do more.
There's some really nice stuff.
Thank you.
I love looking at that. And I love when people draw on like tone paper. It just has a beautiful look.
For some reason, people love it. They love that white ink on that, tinted paper. And it's pretty cool.
So, yeah, it's really nice. Dark Crystal there, Dr. Doom, nice.
Yeah, I was doing a bunch of Dark Crystal. Every time I did a Dark Crystal thing, someone would buy it, every time. So a lot of Dark Crystal fans out there.
Yeah, we've actually talked to a few. Our good friend Cassine Gaines wrote the book with Cheryl Henson, The Complete Visual History to the Dark Crystal. We've had Tim Clark on our In Credit Chats, who
he's a great
designed
guy.
puppets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
I met him at a show last year or the year before in New Jersey, and before I met him, he found a drawing of a mystic that I drew online, and he liked it and said, "Hey, I sculpted those." I'm like, "Whoa!" The guy who helped sculpt and met Jim Henson liked my stuff.
Oh yeah,
kind of really got me going. And then I met him, and I bought a Boglin from him.
No, those Boglins are great. I love the look of them.
I've got like 3 of the vintage ones, and then I got some of the smaller ones.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to have to send you a link to the video interview we did on our In Credit Chat, where Mike and I go on together and talk with people. And we had him on a couple of times, but I'll send you a link so that you can see the interview. It was, usually we do about an hour. I think we did 2 hours, I think, with him. And it was just, he's just really great to chat with. So let me get back to your website. Is there anything else I wanted to see? What's work? I don't remember going on. Oh, just what you guys do. So this is
it's some promo art for different things.
And this is Hector's work, you said? The
Boba Fett is me. I drew that. I actually I was commissioned to do that. It's Aliens versus Boba Fett.
Yeah.
And then we had a really brilliant guy color it, and then I went to New York City and dropped off the original in person because he was at New York Comic Con.
Cool.
And so I ended up going there, and it paid for the entire trip, so that was cool. And then to the right is a project that sort of failed. It's oh God, John's gonna murder me now. The guy in the Misfits, the bassist, I forget his name, with the lock there. Doyle's his name, and we were proposing a comic for Doyle. They met Doyle, Hector, and John. And,
I don't know if it was him, but someone from the Misfits reached out to me to do a project. Yeah, a comic, and we talked, and we just kind of fizzled out.
That's kind of what happened with us. Yeah, there was a lot of excitement, and a lot of people were interested, and then just kind of fell flat, sadly.
So, but I don't remember if it was him or not.
That's Hector's stuff, that zombie painting there, and then that's the Gulacy cover there to the right or your left. That's the Martin Chase Human Weapon, which is kind of an espionage story, martial arts type of story that John created.
It kind of reminds me of that old like 90s martial art films, like The Perfect Weapon or something like that. Or
John would probably love to hear that.
Yeah, I'm a huge like fan of. I was trying to. This is going to sound bad, but on the weekends, I tell you, I watch stuff on Amazon. Has like those really cheesy movies. I found on demand. I have Verizon Fios. I found American Ninja 4, and like I just sat down and watched that yesterday. And like they have a number 5, and I'm like, I want to watch it, but the guy who was in like he played the ninja's friend, like who was it? Michael. What the hell's his name? Michael, was it Dudikoff, I think, was the American Ninja. And then like he had a friend. I don't know if he was in the first one, but I know he's in the second, third, and fourth. Mm-hmm. And in the 5th one, that actor plays the new American Ninja, but he uses a different name. I'm like, so I was like a little angry. I'm like, I just saw him in all these movies, but I love all that stuff. I love.
John's very much into Chuck Norris and Bruce Lee. He's actually a trained Krav Maga instructor.
Oh, really?
He's the real deal.
He's someone I'm gonna have to. I used to study martial arts until I busted my knee when I was 21, and I lost my ability. Like I have no balance anymore. But I studied a few different forms, and it really influenced the work I did as well. Even from childhood, I was studying it. That I have a lot of the Asian culture that I was brought up in. I'm Italian, brought up Italian, but studying martial arts for years.
Got Asia in your heart, man.
I had this Asian influence throughout, whether I was in, China in my school there, if you will, in my dojo, whatever you want to call it, or Korean or whatever. And so all this Asian influence is really a big part of my life. But it's,
cool.
it's a really cool thing. So seeing work like this is something I would pick up just looking at the books just right now.
Oh
Um,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. So, um, I just want to. I'm not going to go to your blog right now, but I did want to ask you. When we were talking doing our pre-interview, you mentioned we could talk about a few things. One of the things that you brought up really really intrigued me, and I wanted to ask you about it. You said we can chat about collecting vintage toys. And I want to know, what vintage toys are you collecting right now?
Okay. Okay. So this is, you know what? About 3 years ago, I moved to a bigger place, which was great. And then, what does my girlfriend say? But hey, we should get a pinball machine. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea. And then she got me all excited about it. So we bought one, right? And it's like chips. You don't just have one. So
Yeah.
we ended up with like three of them, and they're all like late 70s, early 80s because we have
Oh,
this
that's
big space.
fantastic.
And yeah, so that's how it started. I'm blaming her. She won't own it, but so when I opened that door of, hey, this nostalgia of playing these old pinballs, it got me thinking about childhood toys. And our granddaughter actually loves toys. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just, I saw on Marketplace like a small lot of He-Man action figures, and I didn't have any He-Man action figures as a kid. And there was like some She-Ras, so I grabbed it. And I came home and she loved playing with it, and she was so excited about it. I was like, I don't know a lot about He-Man. And then I found that there's this show on Netflix called The Toys That Made Us,
Yes.
and they did like a whole episode on He-Man, and then that got me even more into He-Man. So then I was like, I think I'm just going to collect all those. And so I start collecting those, and I'm realizing that some of them are kind of hard to find or very expensive.
Yeah.
Like a laser light Skeletor is crazy money.
Oh, yeah.
Whether you have and if you have the accessories to all these guys, it costs even more money. So I was just collecting them loose. That's how it started.
Yeah.
And then of course I was like, I'm just doing He-Man. I'm just doing the figures loose. And then suddenly I was collecting the vehicles. Suddenly I have a gray skull in my house, right? And then it went from a gray skull to a Snake Mountain to She-Ra's Castle, and so like now you get where I'm going.
Yeah, no, I totally see. I mean, I love all that stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't have any of my old He-Man. I was actually going through some of my old toys the other day, because I collect a lot of different things. This was actually given to me by a friend. I'm a big Dr. Fate fan, so it was the
Oh, wow.
superpowers. Doctor, he found them in pretty good condition. I have one somewhere behind me in a drawer or something, where he's like, his pin is faded, his cape is missing. I
That's
don't know
cool.
if it was me or a cat for some reason. I probably might a pet, but things are chewed up on them. Like, I don't know why I'd be sticking a toy in my mouth, but yeah, no, they had. I have things like that I love.
I think it's a healthy addiction, honestly. I think my girlfriend looks at it as being a hoarder. So, but I think if it's organized, neat, clean, and it's in a shelf, and it's not piled on top of each other, I don't think it's like a piece of art. It's like a 3D piece of art, really.
Exactly.
And
Do you remember? I'm sorry. Do
Yeah.
you remember these guys?
Dungeons and Dragons?
No, this is Bionic 6.
Oh, Bionic 6. I don't have Bionic 6. I haven't collected them yet, but that's on my to-do list eventually. Yeah.
These are hard to get, but they're also like heavy die-cast metal.
Yeah, they're metal, right? They're actually
there's
metal.
a weight to them. So I mean, I don't have a lot. These were the only two I still have from my childhood. I had like 4 or 5 of these guys, and this is all I have.
They're hard to find. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started with the Masters of the Universe vintage, and then it kind of graduated into Star Wars vintage, Thundercats, a lot of Thundercats, and so I have cases of figures now that I have to eventually get rid of, and it's slowed down a lot. I got involved with toy auctions quite a bit, so I go on to these toy auctions a lot, and I just sort of see what people have, and I've learned about a lot of toys that I had no knowledge about, like 90s toys, like Street Sharks and Biker Mice from Mars, and all these other toys, which, it's got its own history. So it's pretty cool.
We also have a comment here from Daniel Mathers, says, Kicked his butt in pinball. LOL.
Oh, he did. Yeah, we did a virtual pinball face-off MMA. That's my stepson,
Okay.
and we have Sorcerer Pinball, Buck Rogers, and we have a Space Invaders Pinball. And they all are hard, but the Sorcerer one is a Bally pinball machine and just really fast. And he's got better reflexes. He's 20-something years younger than me. So he just not to make excuses, but it wasn't my night. He just creamed me. Yeah, he scored like $1.5 million on it, and I think I've gotten up to that before, but I played right after and I just didn't do well. So
pinball, I gotta say, pinball was always my game. I sucked at video games in general, whether it was in the arcade, on Atari, Nintendo, Sega, whatever system I was on. I sucked at the games, but at the pinball machine, I was actually pretty good at. So
yeah, you gotta have that hand-eye, man. You gotta get, you gotta practice. You gotta do it whenever you can do it. And I got 3 pinball machines and I don't play them every day, which is a sad thing. But if someone came over and says I want to play pinball, I'd play them. It's one of those things.
And we got another comment from Joe Ryan, who is a longtime watcher of us here. And he says, as you know, Mike, I'm a huge collector of Transformers. Yes, I did, because he's mentioned that a couple of times. But I also have vintage figures such as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters, RoboCop, Street Sharks, Terminator, and Star Wars. And just speaking of Star Wars, when I was going through my toys, I found my original, and I don't remember the character name, but the Walrus Man. From there, I found that, and I found an original Gamorrean guard from Return of the Jedi. I think that's all I have of my originals.
I mean, even Star Wars, I learned more about just by going on these toy auctions, like the original first 12 figures that were made, and then like the more common ones when Empire came out, and then at the end when Kenner was losing the license, these last 17, which are the harder ones to get. Like you can spend $400 to $600 on one figure. It's just that crazy. Yeah.
I've never been that die-over fan. The closest I ever came to spending that much money, I think I was in Cold Springs, New York. No, it wasn't Cold Springs. I was on vacation. Sorry, I was in Maryland. It looked like Cold Springs with all the antique shops and stuff. And they had an original Megatron, which I never had as a kid. And that was like my dream figure. And it was selling for like $150, and the guy's like, I'll give it to you for $90. And I'm like, should I, shouldn't I, should I? And I decided not to go with it, because at the end of the day, what am I going to do with a Megatron figure? But and if I spun you around really quick in my studio, you'd see what I mean. Like there's figures everywhere. My back table behind me, which you can't see, it's kind of messy. I'll tone it down a little bit and turn. You can see that there's a bunch of figures I got to go through.
Oh yeah.
Over there. I mean,
I
have a Batman paperweight, I guess. It was a little statue one with all the Justice League. My Hanna-Barbera, Todd McFarlane, Tom and Jerry.
Oh yeah, that's great.
I got a bunch of Disney stuff over there. I have this is some of my favorite here. I got to put out the whole collection, but I have these little statues of, where's my camera? Beetle Bailey.
Oh yeah, Mort Walker. Yeah, that's great.
And my Gru. So I have the whole set of these. I want to find these. I want to put these out somewhere. So, but I keep these guys in front of me when I'm drawing this. So I
like
inspiration.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So now let's see. Oh, and Joe Ryan says I have an original Stormtrooper and a Jawa from the '80s with the yellow light piping. I don't remember that.
I got a cool story for Joe, actually. So when this COVID thing happened, I was getting really bored because I was not seeing people in the office at my day job. I was doing telehealth, and so I had time to go out in the woods, and I have a hill that we're on, like a kind of mountain actually, and I started digging paths and trails, and I must have went 3 steps down, and I found something in the ground, and I pulled it out. I was like, this looks like a Darth Vader, covered in dirt. And I flipped over. It was Vader. It was an original 12 Vader from '77 that someone played with and left in the ground. It was like finding the Holy Grail. I was like, oh my God, I carried it gently back.
And I remember posting that photo both on Instagram and on Facebook.
And
Um,
there's something about finding things in the ground that I think it's like finding treasure, but it's not treasure, but it is. You know, it's really weird. Like some kid lost that and probably cried their eyes out.
I was one of those types. I used to be the
Yeah.
guy to go out in the snow and play with my Star Wars figures and
Mhm.
play Empire Strikes Back and
Yeah,
Beyond Hoth.
The Hoth
And
scene.
then
Yeah.
my brother would come in the house with a chopped up Star Wars figure that I lost that he ran over with a
Mm.
lawnmower.
That's
Like
awful.
my parents sold the house, our house a few years back, and sometimes I wonder if I go back and I walk through the property at all, will I find any of these figures? Because I
Oh
know
yeah.
all of them weren't chopped up.
You know, I got kind of interested in metal detecting because of the Vader. So what happened was I kept digging and I kept making paths, and then at the base of the bottom of this mountain hill, near these trees, I found something else. It was this big, long, kind of shaped looking cylindrical thing, and I didn't know what it was, and I pulled it out of the ground, and it was a boy's spy telescope thing. Super Snooper was called, and so I cleaned that up. I'm actually repairing that now, and it just I kept finding these things in the ground, you know. Then I got a metal detector, and then I found this little pewter 100-year-old truck from 1924, you know,
Wow.
and yeah, you know, and I was like, wow, this is just, you know, of course, you know, it kind of slowed down after that, but I was just going around my property looking for these treasures, and then I decided to take my show on the road, right? So I I found a path behind a school in the town I live in, and in the woods, and there's a loop, but then there's a trail to the right. So for whatever reason, I go to the right, and I'm just doing back and forth passes, you know, and I'm getting like trash and junk and stuff, and maybe a few pieces of loose change. But then I get this really solid hit, and it registers as a coin, and I pull it out of the ground, and it's a big, thick coin. I'm like, what is this? I don't recognize this coin. And I flip it over. It says 1724 on the coin. You know, I'm like,
Wow.
what? You know, it's like a 300-year-old coin I just found. It turned out to be a King George halfpenny. Yeah.
Really?
So
That's amazing.
English money, yeah, in the ground, right? So
Wow.
it's a copper. Yeah. So
Interesting.
yeah, I think I could attribute my metal detecting hobby to COVID,
Uh,
and my love of toys. Actually, I really have been very fond
I
of
got another
collecting.
comment from Joe Ryan who says, "That's awesome. Did you retouch and polish the figure to look like brand new?"
Oh, the Vader. I cleaned it as best I could. I was thinking about getting a repro cape, like a cloth cape instead of a regular vinyl cape. But yeah, I don't have an orange saber. I actually put him in a ship though that I have. So it's sort of like you know, you were in the ground for so long, now you're in this ship. You know, but yeah. So
Okay, so I was just checking something on my phone about
sure.
about what we were talking. Just making sure I'm covering all my notes. I keep it next to me and where I
Oh
where I
yeah,
put notes on.
yeah. I
Uh,
mean, I could talk about other stuff if you want.
no, no, no. Believe me, I'm totally cool. We've hit like every topic that I wanted to talk about, like
Great,
just
great.
professionally with you. The
Mhm.
vintage toys when you were telling me the stuff that we can talk about is just
Mhm.
something that intrigues me because I'm not a diehard toy collector, but there are things that like wow, if I had that, that'd be really cool to me.
It's
And
sort of, yeah, it sort of brings you back to your childhood, a different time, or
yeah,
you just didn't have any worries, or you know, you could just play, you know. And I think that's part of what we're chasing, you know, that next thing, you know, when you find something cool and you're kind of like, wow, I didn't have this when I was a kid, you know, now I have it, you know. It's kind of
mhm,
that feeling you're treating yourself in a way, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, what time is it? Okay, no, I'm thinking. Hold on, Joe. Still an amazing collector story. So yes, Joe, I
Thank you, man.
completely agree. Um, this was a really cool thing. I'm going to wind down only because, and I like I said, with my day job, I put in like
Oh
a
yeah,
12-hour day with travel,
you're
so I'm going to
tired.
want to
It's
wind
bedtime.
down.
It's
It's
bedtime.
close. It's close to it. It's not exactly it, but within the next half hour, I'm going to want to be in bed. I like to try
Sure.
to sit down and read a comic or something, and just kind of
Hmm. Yeah.
remove myself from the day. But I want to thank you for coming on. I want to thank you for sharing your stories, the toys, everything. I think
Hmm.
I think you've had a great career. You have so much knowledge in the indie comic world that I'm happy to have you on to share that with. And I'd
Thank
love
you.
to have you back, that we could maybe do, I don't know, something maybe a little bit more. I don't want to call it lesson or anything like teaching, but maybe talk a
Yeah.
little bit more shop and a little bit more in depth on
Yeah.
a specific aspect of the creative your
Hmm.
creative life, whether it's how you come up with your stories, how you know, approach
Yeah.
characters, things like that. I mean, I think there's
I mean,
so much.
I could definitely talk about the Torn book
Yeah,
more in depth, in the Road to Valhalla book, which I'm working on now, because it'll probably be done in the next month, and then I am going to be launching a Kickstarter for that book specific. So I definitely need your support to get the word out.
yeah. I am
That'd be good.
definitely, anytime it comes on, if you're doing anything, Kickstarter, whatever, just come on, let me know, and I'll put you on so we could have a
That'd be great.
conversation and share. I think I say this a lot too, but it's always true. Talking to other creatives inspires me to get into my studio and work more. It gets
Hmm.
to the point where it's like, and I know I say this again, everyone who watches hears me. It's like I want to kind of stop the interview to draw, you know, and
Do
it
it, man. I don't want to stop you.
yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no. But talking to you is those things that, and other people
Mm.
um, help push me. You know,
Mm.
I had that.
You need
You
that.
know, like I said, I had COVID. I was on track to get work
Mm.
done. The children's book should have been done by now, but I basically lost the whole month of April.
Hmm.
It took in some of May. It took me a bit to get back, and I wasn't really working until mid June again, to the degree that I was able to before I got sick.
Yeah.
So things are still slowly moving, and it's like I said, talking with other creatives, who say they're doing it, I need to be doing it.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for giving me that. Um,
You're welcome.
and hold on, let's see.
Thanks
We
for
got
having me.
I anytime, but let me get to Joe. Joe's had one more comment. He said, "When I turned 20, I always wanted to get Gen 1 Soundwave, and found one at what's that? Oh, TFCon, the Transformers Con, and it
Yeah.
felt so great to finally have one." I'm happy to hear that. You know, when people can get the stuff they like. You know, I collect a lot of random stuff, a lot of
Hmm.
Hanna-Barbera stuff, a lot of Disney
Yeah.
stuff, but you know, Green Lantern,
Hmm.
Superman,
Yeah.
Doctor Fate, Nightwing. Those are my like superheroes. I mean, like I even have, what is this? The I don't know. It was one of those Fisher Price or something toys, the little
Oh
kid
yeah.
toys.
Oh
A
yeah.
Doctor
Yeah.
Fate, I got that there. You know, so
That's
whatever's
awesome.
Doctor Fate, you know, I collect. But again, I'm gonna wrap this up. I want to thank you
Yeah.
again for coming on. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I want you guys to go visit the GWT Books Facebook on the 25th of July,
Thank you.
starting at 10 a.m. to
Hmm.
watch him and his watch KJ and his friends
Yep.
draw,
Okay.
work on stuff, so many things. Go to his website, download that free PDF of the book. It's a
That'll look
great
very
book.
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So thanks again, everybody. You have a great night. I will see you guys next week. I have a great Get in Tune guest, but I'm leaving it as a little bit surprise, just until the official confirmation. But once it's confirmed, I think you guys will. I think you guys will enjoy it. So everybody, have a great night. I'll see you around. Thanks again for joining.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks
All
for
right.
having me.
Thank you. You're welcome. Bye.
Yep. Bye bye.